It's Movie Time is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.org.
The award-winning It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Crystal Davis.
And this is...
It's Movie Time!
Thank you, Crystal. All right, Crystal, the movie this week is Loving. What's that title, Loving?
Loving, that's their last name.
Whose?
The couple, the interracial couple who are in this movie. It's a story, a real-life story, about their marriage and interracial marriage back in the time when that was not permitted, in the state of Virginia anyway.
It was in 1958. Crystal, I gotta think, it's made up. Their last name is Loving.
But I know, it's hard to believe. I mean, it really is surreal. It was like it was meant to be for them, and you know, it did eventually work out for them, but they went through a lot.
You know, and that's the question that I'm really interested in. How intense is the drama here? Now, we know that this case eventually goes to the Supreme Court. Virginia did not allow interracial marriage. So is the film itself intensive? That is our audience going to say, I don't want that, you know, I don't want that kind of movie? Do you think it?
No, I don't think that they're going to say that. I was surprised. I think that the way that they handled the subject matter, and there was very little dialogue, actually. It was a very emotional film, the way that the actors acted out the part, and just the dialogue in the movie. There weren't many words. It was an emotional movie, but the actors were excellent in it and in portraying the characters, who the characters themselves were actually people of few words.
All right. Pull that closer, will you?
Sure.
Yeah.
This way?
Yeah, get
Okay.
it.
Right there?
There you go.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So true. The strength of this film, and it was a big hit at Cannes, was its subject matter, and also the kind of minimalism. I mean, this is director Jeff Nichols, whom I like very much. He has done Mud, Take Shelter, and Midnight Special. So he is this kind of quirky little movies about people, mainly about people. But I so much agree with you about these people. Both of these, one played by Joel Edgerton, and the other by Ruth Negga. I'll be darned. You know, how long do you think it took them to memorize their scripts?
Probably not very long, but to get it just right, I mean, I think that their acting was very on point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the raw emotions were there, and you know, you could see it in them, but they didn't necessarily verbalize what was going on in their minds.
You bet. You know, if I were to say, well, what did I want out of this movie? I want a little more emotion.
Agreed. I would definitely agree with that. And you know, one thing, I thought it was an excellent movie, but what I will say is I also wanted more about them. I walked away wanting more about their life. How did they meet? We catch up with them at the point where they're already dating, and they're about to get married soon. After she announces that she's pregnant, they get married.
Don't you love that scene?
So,
she says, I'm pregnant. He says, good.
Yes, I thought that was awesome. Yeah, and so I walked away wanting to know more, and I think that's a good thing about a movie, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because wanting to know more, then maybe sometimes they want that for a sequel. I don't think that's the case in this case. But I definitely would have liked to have known a little bit more about their backgrounds.
And it's true. I think Nichols' purpose was to be a minimalist about this, to let the issue carry the heft, and to be historically accurate on these two very emotionally closed up people.
Yes.
Now, she comes out a bit more later on.
She does.
Because
she really gets the fight in her that she wants to make this happen.
I know, and he just doesn't want any part of it.
No, he doesn't.
He is not interested in all the publicity.
But I think that shows his love for her, because he's willing to face all of that because it's what she wants.
No, you're right. The way he expresses his emotion intensely threw himself to her, and it's true. This is really a fine romance if you think about it.
It is.
A very authentic one. He is completely devoted to her. I think even at the end, she tells us that she misses him because he took care of her.
Yes.
So there's the truth there, and Joel Edgerton, who plays Richard, is just a marvelous actor. He says so very much without saying much.
Yes.
And those little beady eyes.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
And he's got his bulk.
He's very physical. And you know what? They showed the pictures of actual Richard and Mildred Loving at the end, and they cast very well because they look a lot like those
Isn't
characters.
that amazing? I know.
And so
frequently that doesn't happen.
It
But
doesn't.
in here, he got his hair blonde and
Yes.
shaved close to his head, and he has the tobacco-stained teeth.
Yes.
Oh, jeez. So they're forced to go to D.C. to get married, and they have to face the judge when they come back to Virginia, and they have to be apart. Can you imagine that? 25 years before they can come back together to the state of Virginia.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous anyway. It's hard to believe that actually happened at that point in time. And I'm so proud that our country has come so far since then.
Isn't that the truth? And there for me, Crystal, is how shall I say, perhaps a lost opportunity in the film. Look, this is monumental.
Agreed.
It allows all interracial marriages in this country. That's not a small matter.
And even after, I would have liked to even have seen more. I mean, the way that they ended the movie, I'm not going to go into that too much, but I think, it was an emotional end to the movie, but I would have also liked to seen the effects of the decision.
Thank you.
See some other couples out there living their lives to really, hammer in the point that this was so major.
Exactly.
What they were able to accomplish.
We don't get the arguments at the Supreme Court. We have these two underdeveloped characters, the lawyers,
Yes.
who do take it. The couple doesn't even go to the hearing at the Supreme Court. And so, while we know what the arguments are, and we know Virginia says it's unnatural, we know that the lawyers for the ACLU, which thanks to Bobby Kennedy, got involved for these poor people, they couldn't have afforded it. But it does show that people should not be told whom they can't marry.
Agreed. I have to tell you, I mean, I call me a sap, but I cried a couple times during this
good for
movie.
you.
I mean, I thought it was very powerful. I think it could have, even if the characters were developed further, it could have even been that much more powerful. So I think it was definitely a good movie.
Oh yeah. Now I think the law, as Virginia stated it, summarized for me the deep prejudice of the South. I mean, this is 100 years after liberation, and we're still fighting it in 1958. And when we talk about gay marriages now, you know how many years after 1958, and we're still struggling.
It's still a battle.
It's so divisive. But I love the wording by the state, which said, "This is against the peace and dignity of the Commonwealth." These,
Wow.
these jerks are just, and I know you can stereotype good old boys. Maybe the sheriff just a little bit.
Yes.
A little bit of that kind of bigoted Southerner, white Southerner.
And I know, in watching the movie, there definitely was the bigotry there.
Yeah.
And I was kind of waiting for something really, really big to happen. and I was really happy that it didn't. I'll just leave it at that.
No, that's great. I was just going to say, we don't have any of the big crowds, the yelling, the screaming. We don't have any of the firebombing, whatever that you had in the civil rights movement, which was coming on. I mean, these people were right there, but you didn't have that. That's part of that minimalism that I think is so characteristic of this film.
Yes. And I read one of the reviewers that actually said that the movie is too polite, which was an interesting,
That's a good point.
Which was an interesting point. But then on the other hand, I think that is part of the appeal of the movie as well. Once you sit back and you take it all in afterwards, you think, wow, that was just really a nice love story.
Yes, yeah. And I think you've caught what I suspect for our audience is going to be the two views of it. The first is going to be the delicate love story about with two almost inarticulate people,
Yes.
and yet at the same time the incendiary possibilities of the issue which they represent. And there is a tension between the two. And yes, if you can take both, that's great. If you love both, the minimalism and the excitement, but don't expect to get a whole lot of excitement. This is not.
It is, yes. Very minimalistic.
It is. All right, Crystal Davis. The movie is Loving. What grade would you award it, Crystal?
I would give it a B. The reason why is because I was hoping that the characters would be a little bit more developed, but I think it's definitely worth seeing, a very emotional movie, and again, I cried.
And being a minimalist, I'm going to have to award it a B plus because I love that. But we're both, and strangely, we're both keeping it away from the A area.
Yes.
Simply because it seems to miss some of the intensity.
Mm-hmm.
But at this holiday time, can you recommend it?
Definitely. It is. I think in the end, it is a feel-good movie.
Yes.